Today, I'm going to share a story from the past, one that inspires, makes you think, and warms your heart. So sit back, relax, and let's begin in the small town park. Every evening, a group of children would gather around a particular fountain. Sitting next to it, an elderly woman with a warm, soothing voice would regale them with stories. Her name was Evelyn. With her gray hair neatly tied into a bun and her thin-framed glasses perched on her nose, she painted vivid tales of adventure and mystery. Evelyn's stories were filled with daring sea voyages, exotic discoveries, and acts of bravery. The children listened with rapt attention, mesmerized by the imaginative world she created. But Evelyn's stories weren't mere flights of fancy, as everyone would eventually discover. One evening, Evelyn shared a story about her time in a royal palace. According to her, in her youth, she had been part of an intercontinental archaeological expedition and had discovered a long-lost royal jewel. This jewel wasn't just historically significant. It had the power to shift political dynamics. Evelyn described how the royal family had honored her personally for her efforts. The children giggled, dismissing the story as another delightful invention from the whimsical old woman. However, a young journalist named Mark happened to overhear the story. Something about the details, mentions of a royal family and a missing jewel, struck a chord with him. The names and descriptions sounded eerily familiar. Driven by curiosity, Mark decided to investigate Evelyn's claims. Mark spent days combing through old newspaper archives, and his research unearthed something incredible. Evelyn's story wasn't just a fanciful tale. It aligned perfectly with a decades-old unsolved mystery. Years ago, the British royal family had reported a priceless jewel missing. Known as Lygia's tears, the jewel had been shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. Though the jewel had mysteriously resurfaced, the identity of the person who had recovered it had never been revealed. Mark's discovery left him stunned. The dates, the locations, and the intricate details from Evelyn's story matched perfectly. Could this quiet, elderly woman in a small-town park be the key figure in one of history's most enigmatic events? Determined to learn more, Mark approached Evelyn at the park one evening. She was surrounded by children, spinning yet another captivating tale. Mark waited until the crowd dispersed before stepping forward. "Miss Evelyn," he began cautiously, "can I ask you about the royal family and the jewel in your story? Did these events really happen?" Evelyn paused, adjusting her glasses, and gave a faint smile. "Rather than questioning their truth, ask yourself what the story has taught you," she said cryptically. Mark pressed on. "But I have evidence that places you at the center of this mystery. Why have you stayed hidden for so long?" Evelyn sighed deeply, her gaze distant. "Sometimes, being the hero of a story is harder than watching it unfold from afar." Evelyn finally decided to open up. She revealed that in her youth, she had been a fearless adventurer and archaeologist. Not only had she recovered the royal jewel, but she had also made numerous other discoveries. Yet over time, she had grown weary of the spotlight and the constant demands of fame. One day, she had made the decision to leave it all behind and settle in this quiet town. "My stories," she explained, "are how I keep my life alive. But I've found more joy in sharing them with the children here than in reliving them for the world." While Evelyn's candid revelations amazed Mark, they also left him with lingering questions. As he delved deeper, one detail stood out. Evelyn's stories bore an uncanny resemblance to a theft involving the famed Lygia's tears. This jewel, a national treasure, had disappeared from a Parisian museum 40 years earlier, in what was then considered the heist of the century. Evelyn's description of a lost stone sought by an archaeologist felt too close to be a coincidence. Mark confronted Evelyn again, this time in a quiet tea garden. He wasted no time. "Evelyn, does the name Lygia's Tears mean anything to you?" Evelyn looked at him over her teacup and smiled. "Of course. Who hasn't heard of it? A jewel like that captures the imagination." Her calm demeanor didn't betray much, but Mark noticed a flicker of something in her eyes, perhaps a trace of unease. He leaned in. "One of your stories describes a woman chasing a missing jewel. The parallels with the theft of Lygia's tears, it's almost as if you were that woman." Evelyn leaned back in her chair, studying him. Mark, she said quietly but firmly, sometimes a story is just a story. Instead of digging for truth, perhaps you should savor the tale itself. Mark frowned, unsatisfied. But there are too many unanswered questions about your past. Why did you move here? Why have you stayed under the radar for so long? Evelyn tilted her head thoughtfully before locking eyes with him. Some secrets belong only to those who carry them. And some stories exist not to be solved, but to inspire. Her words, though enigmatic, carried a finality that Mark couldn't argue with. Sensing he would get no further, he rose from his seat. I guess this is where your story ends, he said, a note of resignation in his voice. Evelyn's lips curved into a faint smile. Stories never truly end, Mark, they simply wait for new narrators. As Mark walked away, Evelyn's cryptic words lingered in his mind. Had she truly been involved in the disappearance of Lygia's tears? He would never know for sure. What he did know was that Evelyn's air of mystery only added to her allure. Back in the park, Evelyn sat among the children, weaving yet another fantastical tale. Though they didn't know who she truly was, they laughed and listened with wonder, captivated by her vibrant imagination. Evelyn, with her secrets intact, remained an unforgettable part of their little town, a legend cloaked in shadow. Enjoyed the story? Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Let's spread the inspiration together.